So going into Happy Death Day, I really didn't have any expectations. I kind of wanted to see if I can enjoy the movie and it would be entertaining. And it was. It was a very entertaining movie. It has its flaws, clearly, and you could see that coming in the trailers. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. The lead actress, Jessica Rothe, as Trey, did really well here. I thought she was great, and it was really impressive her acting because this is a story about a girl who goes from being a real bad person in a sense, and that classic sorority girl that has like no morals anymore and something bad's in their past. And she plays into someone who's very likable. So props to her. And I like to take that the more messed up her life got, the better of a person she became. It's almost like that kind of forced her to change herself and all the stuff she was taking for granted and not realizing all the people she's hurting by running away from her problems. And it's making, all this was making her face her problems. So I really like that part of the story. There was some really more bad writing here, and that's not the story per se, but more of the lines. And it really was in the beginning when there's certain scenes I was like, people talk like that? Like when Trey, our main character, sees the creepy stalker dude who's really good looking for a stalker and says, "You took me to Subway on a first date, but unfortunately you didn't have a foot long." Bad line. Just leave that one out. And then my real big problem with the writing was when the roommate, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie, we find out is the killer. But there was a big hint when you first meet her, and Trey asks her, "Hey, how did you know it was my birthday?" And she says, "Oh, I looked at your driver's license." Who does that? Who would look at their roommate's driver's license and go, "Oh, it's their birthday today"? The odds of that, this creepy, weird thing to look in their wallet like that, I didn't like that. That gave away to me that she was maybe not the killer, but in on it in this whole Groundhog Day effect. And then there was a real cheese. This is all on the first day, by the way. We see all this cheesy writing that was kind of there. When we find out that Trey is getting with the professor and they're hooking up and he's like, "Let's not do this right now, I have patience." She's like, "But I'm losing mine." And the kiss was like, again, not a necessary line. You can write that a little better. But as we go on, I thought the movie got better, especially in the day 2 of the story when she wakes up again. It was kind of cool to see how she'd react now to realizing what was happening. And there's a lot of funny humor in this day specifically, but in the movie in general, the funny parts hit, especially when she's getting murdered and one of those random frat guys just walks in hammered and just is like, "Woo!" and then walks out. The crowd I was with was dying laughing at that part, so that really hit well. And then day 3, when she wakes up, I really like when she wakes up more intense. It really amped everything up, and her vision's blurry. It was a really cool camera effect, and she's seeing everything, and she's like having a meltdown, and she starts opening up a little bit to other people about what's going on. But then, my big problem of a sequence here was day 4 when she wakes up, and she's already made this plan now. She's going to find out who this murderer is, and she wakes up and they play that song, "So You Say I'm Complicated." Took me out of the tone of the movie, didn't fit, and it became a teeny bopper movie all of a sudden when it wasn't like that in the beginning. And all of a sudden, I get they're going for that audience, but it did not feel right to me, and it was just like, why? This is really solid right now, this movie. Why you gotta do this whole sequence of her putting the shades on, acting confident? Really took me out of believing the story and buying that she would behave a certain way in this scenario. We're all of a sudden, yeah, I've been murdered 3-4 times. I have no idea what's going on. I'm having a nightmare, but now I'm super confident, and this poppy song's in my head. It was like, give me a break. That was annoying. That was too mainstream movie for me. Real corny. And then especially when she has the military gear on, she's trying to scope out people that she thinks might be on her hit list of who could be after her. That whole sequence was awful to me. Horrendous. But I'm happy the whole movie wasn't like that. It recovered well. Because then when it gets back to the serious tone and more grounded out of that sequence, I still was really interested to see who the killer was. The acting was still really solid to me. And there was still some really good humor here. For me, I like when she was more of not the, "I'm confident I'm going to get the killer." It was more of like when she was just like accepting what was happening and not giving a crap. Especially I thought it was really funny when she was at the diner and she let out that fart. I thought that was brilliant. That made me chuckle pretty hard. Because as a guy, you almost want to see people be that loose. Well, maybe it's not like I want to see girls fart, but you want to see people that loose and not so protective all the time. What was great about this movie is it was showing a girl getting rid of that mask and that shield and being herself more and more, which I really liked. And then they trick you and make you think the actual murderer is a guy who looks just like Tom York from Radiohead. I mean, look at the similarities. It's literally the same dude. I thought it was him. Started laughing at that. And then I didn't know how I felt about it just being someone who was some random murderer who's killed other women and she found it on the news. So I was like, all right, I thought it'd be a cool reveal. But that might be where a huge problem was here, where once we found that out, I really liked how that day planning to get this guy now the right way and kill him. She made amends with everybody. She was a good person. She was her genuine self. And it had a really good lesson about putting down these barriers and running away from your problems and facing them and being a good person, how it makes you feel better. And while it was going through that sequence and she sees her dad and she apologizes and it opens up about her mother, I like that because I do know a lot of girls and guys at our age, in our 20s, just getting out of college or still in college, where a lot of people try to like just avoid their problems and not talk about things, and everyone's so masked and uptight and afraid to be themselves. This had a really good lesson here and a really good message, and I did not expect that in a movie like this, but I really enjoyed it. But then I thought the movie was going to end at that, and then she wakes up again and it wasn't the killer, and then I thought this was a little too much, and it almost felt like we just saw a bunch of deleted scenes or an alternate ending thrown onto this movie where the roommate is revealed to be the killer who originally thought it was, from her saying she looked at her driver's license, which didn't make sense, and she had the cupcake with the one candle. And then it got way over the top, and then she pushes roommate out the window, and it's a crime scene where she lives, but they don't really investigate into her pushing her roommate out the window, even though she did the right thing. But it just didn't make any sense that she just go hang out with the guy she likes, and he invites her back to her place after she just literally killed somebody. Very odd, and that was just not necessary to make any sense, wasn't realistic. I get the movie's not realistic because it's a Groundhog Day effect, but come on, I want to still buy how someone would react to it, and that was asking a lot. So I felt like that whole ending with the roommate reveal, you got to pick one. If it's going to be the roommate or this Tom York killer, pick one. They already picked Tom York killer, then they did the other ending. It just felt like two endings in one. Too much. It'd have worked better if you just stuck with the roommate or just stuck with the killer as Tom York. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. And if you're going to see this movie, or if you already saw it, obviously you got to accept it for what it is and just go for the ride. It's entertaining. It works at what it's trying to do. Has its flaws, but overall, I was impressed and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it I was thinking 7.5, but that double ending annoyed me, so I'm going to give it a 7. But really good acting here. And Jessica Rothe showed me, the main girl, huge potential to be a star. So really held down this movie a lot for me. It's a tough role to play. You got to think about it. If she's filming those scenes and there's no music actually playing behind her, she's carrying all of this. And she's in scenes with this murderer who has no dialogue. And the transformation of her character throughout, she did really well. She timed it perfectly to how it would react to getting, it almost seemed like a complete rejuvenated person. So props to her. But I'm giving Death Day a 7. If it's your first time seeing me, please come back for more reviews. I do movies, TV shows, celebrity interviews, trailer reactions. Please subscribe. Comment below what you thought of this movie. I respond to everybody. Really want to know if you agree with me, disagree with me, any thoughts you have on the movie at all. Let me have it, and keep coming back.